Dear Nevaeh, 2 months have gone by in a flash, and the end of your days at the outpost draws near. Every letter you have sent me in this time fills my heart with joy. I know we have not known each other long, but you have quickly become an irreplaceable source of joy to me, and I look forward to all your letters and read them multiple times. Word has spread all through the stronghold of the great victory over the hidden city and the dethronement and capture of the Dwarf King. You have done me proud yet again, but you have done the stronghold prouder. The Dune Dragons anxiously await the day they will get to see you, and I dearly hope you can come home soon. But I understand that your duties bind you to Dragon Keep. I hear His Grace has ordered your immediate return to the Keep, and I worry you dread returning to that cold, unwelcoming place. Do not hesitate to write to me at the slightest inconvenience. I will come for you at any time. You need only ask. Vea, now that the troubles are sorted, I must tell you of this. A week ago, after careful deliberation, I have sent word to your uncle and your grandfather in the Winter Domain, explaining all that has happened. I believe your mother's family have endured much heartaches, and knowing of your existence would bring them great comfort. They have expressed their eagerness to meet you, but know that there is no rush. Returning to Wolf territory is a big decision, and you shall have all the time you need to make it. From now, the Winter Domain will serve as our eyes and ears in the Wolf territory. They will look into the situation at the Eclipse Domain and find out exactly what happened to Era. Do not worry. I will make certain we get all the answers we seek, and all who had a hand in what happened all those years back will pay for what they did. I am sorry I did not discuss this with you beforehand. My dear, be safe, and always remember you are loved. Sincerely yours, Kidian. Nevaeh placed Kidian's letter down on the table.
What does it say?
Menarx asked from where he lay on the bed, watching Nevaeh with his head propped up on his arm. That my grandfather and uncles on both ends want to see me. Seems I suddenly have a very large and loving family, Nevaeh replied with a shrug.
And that displeases you?
Menarx asked with a raised brow. It is just hard to get used to, Nevaeh admitted.
Take your time, love, Menarx said with a small smile, spreading his arms out.
Nevaeh nodded slowly, getting off the chair. She walked over to Menarx and sat by his side. Menarx wrapped his arms around Nevaeh's waist, staring up at her with a lazy smile. We get to go back to the keep now. Once we return, you cannot avoid crossing paths with Jian, especially not when this entire mission was led by you, Menarx murmured quietly.
And? Nevaeh asked pointedly.
Love, I just want to know what's on your mind. And don't tell me it's fine, because I know it's not. You've been uneasy since we took control of the hidden city, Menarx pointed out. I know, but it's already been 2 months. I won't bite his head off or something, Nevaeh assured.
That is very reassuring, Menarx said,
chuckling when Nevaeh nudged him away with a glare. That is not the reason I have been uneasy, Narx, Nevaeh said in a more serious tone.
What then?
Menarx asked with a raised brow. Nevaeh breathed a sigh at Menarx's question. She was not sure how exactly to explain what she was feeling. Narx, I know it might be weird to say this, but I just think taking control of the hidden city and all, it was too easy, you know? Nevaeh said, glancing over at Menarx.
Vea, it took us 2 months to fully prepare for an attack. We planned it out to the most minute details. You made sure of that. And if it was too easy, it was because everything went according to plan.
A plan you barely slept to come up with, Menarx reminded. Narx, I know. But that's not it. Everything went according to plan, and I would not think more to it if we were dealing with just dwarves, Nevaeh explained. But Narx, someone is definitely behind the dwarves. The only reason the Dwarf King could be so daring is if he had someone pulling the strings.
I mean, we would never have suspected the involvement of the dwarves if you were not hit by that adamantium spear.
They could have kept things quiet. Why expose themselves that way? Before they were even prepared to face the backlash? Nevaeh asked with a shake of her head. And Narks, I surely met the Dark Sorcerer in the Inner Citadel. How come there were no signs of him at all? Where did he disappear to? Why was he there in the first place? And what exactly did he do while in dwarf territory? Nevaeh continued airing her doubts. Narks, if the Dark Sorcerers had dealings with the dwarves, which we know they did, why leave the dwarves to face us by themselves? Nevaeh asked seriously.
Because they already have what they want, Monarchs realized, sitting up.
Narks, I'm not uneasy because of Gian. I am uneasy because something tells me I have just played right into the Mastermind's hands. If they have what they want and are hoping to cut off the tail, we have just helped them do exactly that.
But what exactly have we helped with? What is the bigger picture behind this? Why did they not stop us from taking hold of the Inner Citadel or the adamantium mines?
And most importantly, Narks, I could not have found the Inner Citadel and the tunnels if I had not been there before. And so I wonder, was saving me also a part of the Dark Sorcerer's plot? Nevaeh asked, her brows furrowed in suspicion. It was already far into the night when Nevaeh was awakened by that terribly pain churning in her gut. The intensity of the pain banished the wave of sleep from her consciousness almost immediately. Nevaeh sat up on the bed. It had taken every ounce of will to restrain herself from jerking up and letting out a scream. It was the kind of will Nevaeh did not think she could muster twice. Nevaeh's wolf comforted her anxiously. If you do not wish for him to find out, we have to get away, Veah. Bear with it. Though Nevaeh's wolf constantly reminded her, there was no use keeping this from Monarchs, as he would eventually discover it. She still complied with Nevaeh's wishes to withhold it for the time being. Nevaeh sucked in a deep breath, gently pushing off the covers shared by her and Monarchs. Monarchs rolled over, and Nevaeh winced slightly, biting down harshly on her bottom lip to keep in any sound as she slowly moved away from Monarchs' embrace. Monarchs was a light sleeper. A battle-forged dragon like he was, Monarchs was always on high alert and naturally attuned to his environment. And so, even with how careful she was being, Nevaeh was not at all surprised when Monarchs' eyes fluttered open, a questioning look in his sleepy gaze. "Love, are you okay?" Monarchs asked in concern, his eyes scanning over Nevaeh worriedly. "I'm fine. I just need some air. I'll be back before you know it," Nevaeh assured, forcing a smile to her lips, which she hoped was genuine enough to reassure Monarchs. "It's really late now. I will go with you," Monarchs began to offer, but Nevaeh quickly shook her head. "I'll just be a moment, Narks. You need your sleep for the long flight back," Nevaeh dissuaded. Monarchs hesitated for a moment, but finally hummed quietly in understanding. "Very well. It's cold out. Take your coat and don't be long," Monarchs said. Nevaeh nodded. Getting off the bed, she grabbed her coat and walked out of the tent, keeping a steady posture. Nevaeh maintained her posture, walking briskly across the camp so as not to alert the Dragon Lords on night watch, and her demeanor only changed when she was safely within the cover of the forest. The first sound out of Nevaeh's lips was a pained gasp. She stumbled through the forest, struggling against the pain racking through her muscles, just to put one foot ahead of the other. Nevaeh did not know what direction she was headed in, neither did she have a destination in mind. Nevaeh just knew she had to keep moving till she was as far away from the camp as she could get, before breaking down. She had not gotten so far when a stronger wave of pain churned through her, squeezing at her insides like a sharp blade was being twisted in her gut. Nevaeh reached out, holding her weight up with her hand rested on a trunk. She gasped and heaved, her breaths coming out in short and heavy pants. Once again, the mate bond had begun its torture. Nevaeh had lost count of how many times she had been subjected to this misery in the past 2 months. How many times she found herself out here, in this forest, hiding her pain from the world, so no one would see this side of her. No one would know of the reality that she could never truly escape her past. She could never escape Alessio. Nevaeh's wolf expressed her concerns. "Vea, we will have to reveal this to Monarch soon. He cannot be kept in the dark for much longer. He is bound to find it out at this rate." "I know," Nevaeh murmured through gritted teeth. As much as all she wanted to do at this moment was scream out her pain, Nevaeh knew the forest could conceal her presence, but her voice was sure to echo for miles ahead. The dragons were too sensitive not to notice it. All Nevaeh could do was swallow down her screams and wait for the pain to pass, as she had gotten used to doing these past months. Nevaeh's stomach roiled and she dry heaved, gasping for breath. "Scales! Vea!" Monarch's voice reached Nevaeh from behind. A hand rested on her back, rubbing soothingly. "Vea, what is going on? How are you in this state?" Monarch exclaimed in panic, watching Nevaeh gasp and shudder in pain. "Narx, please leave me to myself. I don't want you to see me like this." Nevaeh forced out the words through gritted teeth. "For heaven's sake, Vea! I am your man! How can you expect me to leave you like this? Of what use am I if I cannot be by you when you actually need me?" Monarch hissed in despair. Nevaeh released a shaky breath, turning around slowly. "I'm sorry. You're right," Nevaeh whispered, leaning her head against Monarch's shoulder. Silent tears streamed down her cheeks, but Monarch's hold was warm and soothing. They stayed in that position for a moment, and the pain churning through Nevaeh slowly subsided. "I never got to sever the mate bond with Alessio. I mean, I tried, but he wouldn't let me reject him, and the next moment I was brought here. I could not tie up the loose ends like I should have. This bond is the only thing left linking me to him. I would rip it out if I could, but I cannot." Nevaeh's voice cracked. "And now that he cannot get to me, he is making use of the mate bond. As long as we share this horrid bond, Alessio will always have access to me. All it would take was a little push to leave me in this state, and he knows it. He knows I am helpless to the mate bond. This last bit of control he has, he will never let me break free of it. He will never stop reminding me that he exists. Narx, I cannot get away from him. I cannot," Nevaeh sobbed out. Monarch's gaze narrowed slightly, rage flashing through his eyes. "And if I give you a stronger bond? My reverse scale is my very essence. It will bond you to me, superseding every other bond, Vea. It will bring an end to his bond, for good," Monarch said firmly. Nevaeh leaned back slightly, gazing up at Monarch's. "Narx, the merging of scale can only be done after the Academy prepares the ceremony. It might be weeks after our return," Nevaeh began to say, but Monarch cut her off. "Nevaeh, my love, I will give you a ceremony deserving of your honor upon our return. But tonight, right here, I wish for you to have a piece of me. The merging of scale is two hearts becoming one. All that matters is our consent. Let the moon be our witness that we are bonded, first in fire, and today in soul. Do not turn me down," Monarch asked, gazing down into Nevaeh's eyes. "Yes, 1,000 times yes, Narks. Yes today and for every other day after," Nevaeh accepted, a weak smile on her lips. Nevaeh gasped. As her eyes came open, she shot up on her bed, panting heavily. Her mind was a blank page. Nevaeh could hardly remember the events leading up to this moment, but her hand moved up to rub her chest, where a dull ache still pulsed. "Veah!" Everon's familiar voice exclaimed from beside Nevaeh. Nevaeh raised a brow in surprise, turning slightly. Her gaze settled in an anxious-looking Everon who sat by her bedside. "Everon? What are you?" Nevaeh trailed off when she noticed where exactly she was. This was Monarch's quarters, back in Dragonkeep, and Nevaeh was not certain what she was doing here. The last she recalled, she was still out in the plains. "How did I get here? I thought..." Nevaeh began to say, but was interrupted when a sudden, intense feeling of concern consumed her mind. "What the..." Nevaeh murmured, her brows furrowed into a frown as her heart rate sped up in anxiety and deep worry, both feelings which she had no reason to have at this moment. "Veah!" Monarchs called to Nevaeh as the door flew open and Monarch stormed in. His expression was the perfect reflection of everything Nevaeh felt at this moment, and as their eyes met, the intensity of relief in Monarch's eyes was directly reflected in Nevaeh's heart when all the concern and worry eased away, to be replaced by warmth and adoration. All of such feelings were too intense for someone like Nevaeh to muster, and as she stared into Monarch's eyes, something told Nevaeh those feelings were not hers at all. "Did I just..." It couldn't be, Nevaeh thought, shaking her head slightly. Monarchs walked over to the bed. Everon was quick to move away so Monarchs could sit, and he took Nevaeh's hand in his, a pained look in his eyes. "Scales, Veah. You gave me a really big scare there," Monarchs confessed, stroking Nevaeh's hair tenderly. Nevaeh blinked in confusion, staring between Monarchs and Everon with furrowed brows. "I do not think I understand this scene," Nevaeh murmured hesitantly. "You do not remember what happened?" Monarchs asked in surprise. "Not exactly," Nevaeh murmured, frowning slightly. She tried to think about it, but her mind only provided mushy details that were difficult to decipher. "Ron, you told me she would be fine," Monarchs accused. "And she is. Why are you acting like this is my fault? You were the one who went right ahead to carry out the merging without any precautions. Who does that?" Everon shot back. Nevaeh watched the two with an exasperated expression. They were not making it any easier for her to figure out what had happened. "Veah, well," Monarchs trailed off, looking to Everon for help. "This blockhead I am ashamed to call my cousin has merged his scale with you, conveniently forgetting that it is considered one of the most excruciating processes of all three mergings," Everon explained. "Especially considering the fact..." Everon trailed off, leaving his statement hanging. "In some cases, the second merging can result in truly dire consequences, harming the rider in the process," Everon said instead. "You blacked out, Veah, right after Monarchs trailed off again. It was then the memories slowly came back to Nevaeh, and her hand shot up to her chest, where that dull ache was yet to subside. Nevaeh felt around her chest, and sure enough, that area that felt so sore was hard to touch, and Nevaeh felt around the spot slowly. She then pulled her tunic down slightly. Nevaeh's eyes widened to find a small ruby dragon scale fused into her skin. The area around the scale was red and sore, but the scale was fused so perfectly, it was as though it had always been there. What was more, Nevaeh could barely feel the mate bond. Recently, since Alessio's letter arrived, it had been so unbelievably strong and overwhelming, but at this moment, Nevaeh could barely feel it. It was not completely gone, but it was weaker than it had ever been, hanging on by just a thin strand. And Nevaeh could tell once the third merging was complete, the mate bond would be completely severed. It worked, Nevaeh murmured to herself in astonishment. She had never really imagined that her bond with Menarx would free her from Alessio's shackles. She had already accepted the fact that she would always have the mate bond somewhere in the back of her mind for the rest of her life. Or at least until Alessio died, since dragons had a far longer life expectancy than werewolves did. Vea? I'm sorry. I didn't think it would have such a powerful effect. I've never done it before. Menarx began to apologize. His words were interrupted when Nevaeh jumped straight into Menarx's arms. Throwing her arms around his neck, she laughed in elation. It worked! Nevaeh cheered. So, you're not mad at me? Menarx asked uncertainly. Nevaeh leaned back, staring incredulously at Menarx. Who cares about a little pain? I would pick that any day than being tied to him. No, Narx. I'm the farthest thing from mad, you beautiful, beautiful man, Nevaeh gushed, kissing the frozen dragon all over his surprised face. Did you let Vea hit her head when she fell? Everon asked in suspicion from where he stood. I would never, Menarx defended himself, an amused smile on his lips. Oh, hush, you two. You have no idea what I've been through these 2 months. Nevaeh shushed as she fell back to the bed, a lazy smile on her lips. But truly, Vea, are you feeling all right? Any discomforts? Menarx still fussed. Nevaeh shrugged casually. With the mate bond so far in the back of her mind, she felt like a great weight had been taken off of her, and her heart felt so much lighter. Just a little sore, Nevaeh said, grazing her finger over the scale subconsciously. There was a knock on the door, and Kiergan stepped in after a moment. Narx, Nevaeh, His Grace summons you both, Kiergan relayed. Nevaeh frowned slightly at the mention of the Dragon King, and though she was quick to adjust her expression, it did not go unnoticed by Menarx. Stay, I'll take care of it, Menarx reassured Nevaeh. Getting up to his feet, he walked over to Kiergan, who stood by the door. Vea needs her rest. I should suffice, Menarx said. Patting Kiergan's shoulder, Menarx pulled Kiergan along with him before Kiergan could protest. The door went closed behind them, leaving Nevaeh and Everin. You know, you will have to face Gian one day, or the next, Everin pointed out in an amused tone. Unless, of course, you intend to run off to another battle once you recover, Everin added. Nevaeh rolled her eyes at Everin's obvious jab. Now that you have returned a victorious battle lord, the keep should be lively again, Everin said, chuckling quietly to himself. In other words, I am the source of trouble? Nevaeh asked pointedly. Not my words, but if you ask for my opinion, trouble does seem to follow you around, Everin agreed, shifting to the side when Nevaeh tossed a pillow at him. There, you are not in any condition to be violent now, Everin advised with a smirk. Walking over to Nevaeh, he handed her a pill and a glass of water. It will help restore your strength, Everin explained, when Nevaeh stared questioningly at the pill. Nevaeh accepted it and swallowed it down with a mouthful of water, handing the glass back to Everin. Everin, Earlier, you were going to say something but stopped, Nevaeh recalled. Everin paused for a moment but did not respond. He just carried on, placing his medicine box in order, but Nevaeh knew she had his attention. I did not recall it at first, but it is all slowly coming back to me. The pain from the second merging was so intense that I lost consciousness, and Monarchs panicked. I have a feeling it does not happen often. You were being obviously weird about it, Nevaeh continued. I can also tell you were furious at Monarchs, and only hid it so I did not notice. What exactly happened, Everin? What happened to me? Nevaeh asked seriously. Everin exhaled heavily and walked over to Nevaeh's bed, sitting by her side. I will not conceal it from you if you wish to know, but I hope whatever I say, you do not take it to heart, Everin began first. You have my word, Nevaeh assured. Here's the thing. The second merging is usually an excruciating process, but the adverse effect is far greater in some cases than it is in others. In rare cases, even life-threatening. To curb this, the merging of soul is done in a controlled environment where the safety of the rider can be assured, under the guidance of elders and the witness of the council. Hence why the ceremony is held in the presence of such personalities. We will be able to take the necessary actions if anything were to go wrong. And Narks? He placed aside that consideration, thereby putting you in possible danger. While I understand this was not his intention, he should have known better, Everin said with a sigh. You were unconscious for an entire day, Vea. When Narks brought you to me, the merging seemed to have backfired, I thought. Everin trailed off. You thought I was one of such rare cases? Nevaeh completed. Yeah. Most of these rare cases where the rider was at risk during the merging, or tortured by the bond, they all had something in common, Everon explained. At this point, Nevaeh could understand what Everon was hinting at, and why it was so difficult for him to say it out loud. They were not true mates, Nevaeh realized. Indeed, most of these dangerous situations happened in the case of choice mates. While the heart of the dragon is moved, the bond sometimes provides a strong resistance, inadvertently harming the rider in the process. This is why we are always more cautious with the merging process for choice mates, taking every precaution. Narks let his emotions get the best of him and failed to consider your safety as his cousin. I am truly sorry on his behalf. Everon apologized sincerely. Nevaeh breathed a quiet sigh, shaking her head slightly. He only did that in concern for me. If anyone is at fault, it would still be me, Nevaeh asserted. Now that you are fine, there is no need to point fingers. Everything worked out just fine. While I knew it from the very moment I set eyes on you, I am all the more certain now. There is no one more suited to hold Narx's heart, Everon said with a warm smile. Nevaeh returned Everon's smile with a small smile of her own. King Jian stood at the balcony, as he always would, gazing down to the citadel that stretched far and wide below. As he stood there, Jian sensed Monarch's approach, even long before Monarchs came up to his door, and so it was no surprise to him when a knock sounded a short moment after. Monarchs walked into Jian's quarters. Going past the receiving room and Jian's study, he headed straight for the balcony, where he knew Jian was sure to be. My liege, Monarchs greeted, lowering his head to a bow. It was clearly not the first time the two had met since Monarch's return from the dwarven outpost. Narks, you're alone, Jian stated the obvious without glancing back. Indeed I am, Monarchs agreed, walking over to stand beside Jian. You do not think I could have her punished for disregarding a royal summon? Jian asked, his tone blank and cold as always. I do not think we want the ice to get any thinner than it already is, Monarchs replied with a roll of his eyes.
Jian grunted beneath his breath at Monarch's subtle jab. Stepping away from the balcony, he headed to his study.
Jian, you are well aware that I am placed in a very tight spot as it is. Monarch still continued accusing. How is that a fault of mine? I am not the one holding grudges. Jian grumbled beneath his breath, taking a seat behind his desk. You cannot escape responsibility, and you know it. Would it kill you to show at least the slightest bit of remorse? That much would be enough for Via, Monarch asked seriously. Jian glanced over at Monarch for a moment before he returned his attention to the scroll on his desk. I do not want this silent war to carry on. It does none of us any good. Via is your sister-in-law. You will have to be more accommodating, Monarch advised. Jian breathed a quiet sigh at Monarch's words. He could not ignore the fact that a step further into their bond meant this was truly happening. Both Monarch and Nevaeh had their minds made up, and as much as Jian still felt uncertain about this, he knew it was not his call. At this rate, Nevaeh was now family. By the third merging, Monarch and Nevaeh would be completely bonded. The official bonding ceremony would then be held. Jian placed down the scroll in his hand. I have heard of the situation with the second merging. She is well recovered, I trust? Jian asked. She is fine now. I worried things would go wrong, Monarch admitted, taking a seat across from Jian. Your actions were foolish, brother. You should know better, Jian replied. I do not know. I do not know what came over me. If something had truly gone wrong, if I had hurt Via, Monarch began to say, but Jian cut him off. Well, it did not happen. Ease your heart and take care of her, Jian comforted. All of these are petitions from the tributary races? Monarch asked after a moment of quiet, gesturing to the scrolls heaped on Jian's table. Every council has sent in a petition regarding the Dwarf King situation. After the investigation was carried out, the list of young ones whose magic have been stolen number in the hundreds, Jian relayed, passing a scroll to Monarch. Monarch opened the scroll and read through the contents, his brows furrowed in displeasure to see the report that stated the investigation report. How did they go unnoticed this long? This is unbelievable, Monarch commented. Disturbing is the word. It is my oversight to have overlooked the dwarves for this long, Jian said with a shake of his head. The Mers and Fae are most affected by it. However, there is also a good number of young mages of Aspherian blood. There is widespread outrage. It will be troublesome to calm this situation, Jian continued. They must be demanding us to take responsibility for this. With that, they seek to gain benefits. They finally have an opportunity to find faults with dragon rule. They will not let go of this chance easily, Monarch guessed. Jian nodded in agreement. This was an unavoidable result, and the dragons knew to expect this response the moment the situation became public knowledge. For the first time in Dragon Dynasty, a crime of such a large scale had escaped their notice. It was something that just did not happen, yet it had. I do not wish them to. It is a failure on our path to have allowed this to happen, Jian said. The nymphs, elves, and even those that are not affected are requesting the Dwarf King face trial at their council, Jian revealed. The Dragon Court is in charge of all affairs regarding safety and security of the dynasty. Such petitions directly question our ability, he added. This is quickly growing into a power tussle. The clear lines of authority will be shifted if we allow any other council to take precedence over ours, Monarch said, as he read through another scroll. Which is why we must settle this situation as soon as possible, in such a way that they cannot find any faults, Jian replied. Taking control of the inner citadel was the first step to retaining absolute authority. The petitions have stopped coming in since word of the victory spread. We already have the upper hand, Jian commended. What would you have me do, my liege? Monarchs asked. I have left orders with Imagor. After the preliminary investigations, the Dwarf King will be sent to your district, Jian said. The Dwarf King is still a monarch. Sending him down to my district might result in outrage, Monarchs pointed out. An outrage can only be overcome by an even bigger one. The tributary rulers must realize that their authority goes only as far as I allow it. The Dwarf King will be considered nothing more than a criminal. His title means nothing here in Keep Skies. This should be a subtle message to the other monarchs who have begun harboring daring thoughts, Jian said firmly. I understand. I will take care of it, Monarchs assured. There is something else. Representatives of the tributary councils have all been summoned to the Citadel. They will arrive Keep Skies in a matter of days, Jian relayed. A unified council? Monarchs asked. It is the most neutral solution for the trial of the Dwarf King, Jian said with a nod. The ceremony for your second merging is also to be held in a few days. It was decided before your return that the ceremony would be held on Nevaeh's birthday, Jian continued. The concern is that it coincides with the arrival of the Unified Council. Hence, the ceremony might be met with some unwanted troubles. I summoned you two to ask your opinion on rescheduling the merging ceremony till the Unified Council passes. I know this might cause indefinite delay, Jian went on to say, but was interrupted by Monarchs. Vea's birthday is in a few days? Monarchs asked in surprise. Jian glanced up at Monarchs, blinking in equal surprise. You did not know? Jian asked with a raised brow. I did not, Monarchs admitted in a quiet tone. Oh, was all Jian had as a response. How did you get to know about it? Monarchs asked Jian. Roderick. His daughter must have mentioned it at some point, and I assume she heard from Nevaeh, Jian explained. Right, it would be Davina. Veaeh does not have much people she would tell of her personal affairs, Monarchs murmured. There was a tinge of hurt that he was also one of those people that did not know such things about Nevaeh. But Monarchs also knew it was hard on Nevaeh to let people in. She was already so accustomed to solitude. I will speak with Veaeh about it and decide together, Monarchs relayed to Jian. Very well. Convey these to her as well, Jian agreed, passing Monarchs 2 scrolls. These are, Monarchs asked with a raised brow. A task Nevaeh must take on in person. You both will understand it when you see it, Jian replied. I understand, Monarchs said. Getting up to his feet, he took his leave. Jian watched Monarchs leave before his gaze moved over to his open balcony, staring out in the direction of Mount Idar. This is it then. There is no going back now, Jian murmured, heaving a quiet sigh. Jian returned his attention to the scrolls heaped on the desk. Hey, love, Monarchs greeted as he walked into his room to find Nevaeh up and getting dressed. There you are, Nevaeh acknowledged. Going somewhere? Monarchs asked. As a matter of fact, yes. Everon advises me to rest undisturbed, but I am following in your footsteps and ignoring his sound advice, Nevaeh replied. Monarchs chuckled quietly. He could tell Nevaeh still had not let go of that event in the early days at the outpost, where he had stubbornly taken flight and ripped open his injury. I am all healed now, Veaeh. Can you lay it to rest? Monarchs asked in amusement. Never, Nevaeh made clear, turning around to face Monarchs as she pulled her hair up into a ponytail. How did you get to know about it? Monarchs asked Jian. Roderick, his daughter must have mentioned it at some point, and I assume she heard from Nevaeh, Jian explained. Right, it would be Davina. Veaeh does not have much people she would tell of her personal affairs, Monarchs murmured. There was a tinge of hurt that he was also one of those people that did not know such things about Nevaeh. But Menarx also knew it was hard on Nevaeh to let people in. She was already so accustomed to solitude. "I will speak with Vea about it and decide together," Menarx relayed to Gian. "Very well. Convey these to her as well," Gian agreed, passing Menarx 2 scrolls. "These are?" Menarx asked with a raised brow. "A task Nevaeh must take on in person. You both will understand it when you see it," Gian replied. "I understand," Menarx said. Getting up to his feet, he took his leave. Gian watched Menarx leave before his gaze moved over to his open balcony, staring out in the direction of Mount Idar. "This is it then. There is no going back now," Gian murmured, heaving a quiet sigh. Gian returned his attention to the scrolls heaped on the desk. "Hey, love," Menarx greeted as he walked into his room to find Nevaeh up and getting dressed. "There you are," Nevaeh acknowledged. "Going somewhere?" Menarx asked. "As a matter of fact, yes. Everon advises me to rest undisturbed, but I am following in your footsteps and ignoring his sound advice," Nevaeh replied. Menarx chuckled quietly. He could tell Nevaeh still had not let go of that event in the early days at the outpost, where he had stubbornly taken flight and ripped open his injury. "I am all healed now, Vea. Can you lay it to rest?" Menarx asked in amusement. "Never," Nevaeh made clear, turning around to face Menarx as she pulled her hair up into a ponytail. "I was thinking, it's been too long since I went on a run. Given the situation at the outpost, my wolf has had to stay suppressed. She is becoming restless. I need to let her out now," Nevaeh explained. "I'll go with you then," Menarx said, placing the scrolls Gian had given him down on his desk. "Gian asked me to bring these to you, though I am not certain what is written in them yet. He says it is a task meant for you," Menarx relayed. "He is assigning me tasks now?" Nevaeh asked with a raised brow. Menarx shrugged casually, and Nevaeh sighed. Walking over to the table, she picked up the scroll and opened it, reading through its contents. "It says here that the elves will be sending your chosen bride as the representative of the Unified Council." Nevaeh passed on to a patiently waiting Menarx. "Come on, you can't be jesting over," Menarx began to say, chuckling at Nevaeh's tease. But then Menarx took notice of the serious expression on Nevaeh's face. "You're not jesting," Menarx realized. "I am not," Nevaeh concurred, handing the scroll to Menarx. "Vea, I'll speak to Gian," Menarx began to say, but Nevaeh cut him off with a shake of her head. "Narx, relax. It's fine, I'm not against it," Nevaeh assured Menarx. "But the elves have agreed to the Unified Council on the condition that you represent Dragon Dynasty at the trial. And their own representative is that. They even went as far as procuring approval from the Murs. Knowing a joint appeal cannot be easily overlooked. It must mean they have something up their sleeves. It would be safer to refuse them," Menarx reasoned. "Their justification is the fact that I commanded the battle and discovered the crime. It is within reason. If we refuse, we do not have a worthy reason to counter theirs," Nevaeh pointed out. "Even so, Dragon Dynasty has the ultimate say. They won't dare act out if Gian rejects the appeal," Menarx insisted. "If I am not mistaken, the Dragon King's founding declaration is not to govern his dynasty with tyranny. This is precisely why you can, but should not overlook this appeal. I will just have to relay the facts of the investigation to the Unified Council, right? It's not that big of a deal," Nevaeh assured. "And the elf representative?" Menarx asked. "Is just that, an elf representative. Why must I consider her a rival? She does not stand a chance," Nevaeh said with a shrug. Menarx shook his head at Nevaeh's statement, his lips twitching in amusement. No, she does not," Menarx agreed. "It's just...
The presence of the unified council cannot be helped. I just do not want your day ruined with added troubles. Monarch sighed quietly. My day? You mean the ceremony? Everyone mentioned the date was set in a few days. It's our day, Narks. It's not all about me, you know. Nevaeh adjusted. Vea, the day of the ceremony. Does it not mean anything to you? Monarchs asked with a raised brow. What are you talking about? Nevaeh asked with a... But then it dawned on her what day the ceremony was. It's your birthday, Nevaeh. Monarch said it out loud, just as Nevaeh recalled it. So? Nevaeh asked, still not understanding what that had to do with anything. So? Vea, you're turning a new age in a few days' time, and you did not even mention it. Clearly you did not plan to, Monarch blurted out, his tone sounding more hurt than he had intended for it to. Nevaeh placed the second scroll back down on the desk and walked over to the bed, taking a seat beside Monarch's. You're hurt, Nevaeh realized. Well, I know I should not be. I have no right. Monarchs trailed off, unable to deny the obvious. Narks, do not say that. You have every right. You more than anyone else. It's okay to say that I've hurt you. It's right to let me know. That way, I get to understand you better. And I do want to understand you, Narks. I dearly want to know your heart, better than I know mine, Nevaeh clarified in a quiet tone. So tell me what's on your mind, yes? Nevaeh asked, and Monarchs nodded in agreement.
Vea, to have heard it from someone else, it just felt hurtful, Monarchs admitted. I feel like the more I get to know you, the more I realize that I truly know nothing about you. Not even the basic facts that should have been a certainty to know, Monarchs continued in a quiet tone. Nevaeh winced slightly. A heavy feeling settled over her heart, and Nevaeh could tell this feeling was not hers. It was a sliver of Monarchs' feelings slipping through their bond. It seemed Monarchs had not even realized it yet, that Nevaeh had already begun to feel what he felt. But Nevaeh knew he would soon. For the time being, the bond was still in formation, and so their minds were completely open to one another. It was just that Nevaeh's emotions were always controlled and guarded, more so than Monarchs'. Hence, while the bond had already bored into Monarchs, giving up his true emotions, it was yet to do the same with Nevaeh. Narks, it is not something I usually talk about, not even seldomly. I know I have only mentioned it once to Davina, and it came up in a unique situation. Not because I found it right to speak of it, Nevaeh explained truthfully. What kind of situation? Monarchs asked in a sulking tone. Nevaeh breathed a sigh, thinking back to when she had made mention of it to Davina. If I could make one day in the year cease to exist, Davina asked me which it would be, Nevaeh replied quietly. Monarchs glanced over at Nevaeh with surprise. It was just a question in passing, to keep me company while I waited to fetch laundry when I served as an attendant. However, my answer to her was that day, and when she asked for a reason, I told her it was because that was the day I was born, Nevaeh continued. Oh, Vea, Monarchs fretted. His arm moved around Nevaeh's shoulder, pulling her closer to his side. The dragons do not make a big deal out of such days, so I did not really think mentioning it was of any consequence. Added to that, for the first time I truly forgot about it, Nevaeh said, her arms wrapped around Monarchs' waist, while her head was leaned down on his shoulder. We live for centuries as a start, Vea. Hence why we do not make an affair out of the passing of time. It does not mean we do not acknowledge it, though, Monarchs explained to Nevaeh. Do you regard your birth date to be such a terrible day that you do not even remember it? Monarchs asked. At the time, I guess I did. I believed then that I'd been abandoned by my mother at birth. left to a monster of a father and a stepmother and a brother who were just as bad. My birth date was never anything worth celebrating, Narks. I said it before, how my 14th birthday played out, Nevaeh reminded. The first time you killed a man, Monarchs murmured, nodding slightly. I killed my father's enemy just so I could live. A man who was a son, had a family of his own, people who loved and cared for him. People who his loss would haunt even till this day. Nevaeh breathed a sigh. The memories were still painful to recall, but it was not as terrible as when Nevaeh had first talked about it to Monarchs. Via, love, he was going to hurt you. You did what you had to do to protect yourself, as anyone would. You owe him no guilt, Monarchs admonished. I know, Nevaeh murmured. All the years leading up to that 14th birthday, each was spent under tutelage by Lothaire's orders. I spent every birthday being tested on my knowledge, on how far I had progressed through the past year, with the lives of many Omegas at risk if I failed to answer rightly. I spent every birthday after my 14th being a pawn in some grand political conspiracy by my father. The event of my 14th birthday repeated itself every birthday after, in an even more horrifying manner. I never passed on to the next day without my hands stained by what I was forced to do. It was a grim tradition. I was forced to make my greatest kill of the year on that day. The day my birthday was used as an excuse to lead Lothaire's enemies to their demise, Nevaeh explained. It was terrible, Narks. It was a day I dreaded the most in the year. My birthday was never something to look forward to. Not even once, Nevaeh revealed, her tone barely above a so. Yes, Narks. I was not going to tell you about it. I would not have even remembered it had you not mentioned it. Because for the first time, even with the day so close, that reoccurring pain of the past was the farthest thing on my mind. I was happy, Narks. I was happy, and the darkness of my past and everything associated with it. I did not realize when I left it all at the back of my mind, Nevaeh admitted. I hate that I hurt you. Nevaeh continued explaining, but Monarchs was quick to shush her. Shh, hush now, love. I am the one in the wrong. I should not have carelessly brought it up, reminding you of things you have earned the rights to forget. I'm sorry, Vea. I was too selfish, Monarchs apologized sincerely. I like it. You get so worked up over everything that concerns me. It shows how much you care, Nevaeh replied, chuckling to herself when Monarchs sighed helplessly. Nevaeh leaned up, her lips meeting Monarchs's in a light kiss. Nevaeh was going to pull away, but Monarchs had other plans. Pulling Nevaeh closer, he deepened the kiss, falling back on the bed and drawing her with him until she was settled against him. We should go out for that run, Nevaeh murmured as she pulled away slightly. Just a moment, Monarchs cajoled, his lips still moving against Nevaeh's. Narks, Nevaeh began to say, but was cut off by another voice. Nevaeh's wolf chipped in through their link. I am not in a hurry, Vea. Not at all. A moment is good. Nevaeh adjusted her stance, rolling her eyes at Monarchs' victorious smirk. It's not a decision you can make on your own. It's an Alpha King mark. It's irreversible. We must seek his consent as he has accorded us the same respect. Nevaeh hissed. You are making a big deal out of nothing. We can just go ahead and ask him, but I can already guess what his answer would be. Nevaeh's wolf thought back. Nevaeh had no words to counter her wolf's stance. She also knew Monarchs would accept their mark with no complaints. But even so, Nevaeh had always felt one would know the right time for an affair like this. There was a right time, a right place, and a right state of mind. All three had to be in place, or Nevaeh would never be in support of it. You still doubt in the bond with him, Nevaeh's wolf thought to Nevaeh. The thought was neither accusing nor assuming. It was just a direct statement that Nevaeh could not deny. Thea, just how much did you let that dream affect you? It has been so long already. Just how much does he still affect you? Nevaeh's wolf thought to her. You did this just to confirm your suspicions? Very well. You would already know. It is you and I both. Nevaeh thought back, but said nothing more. There was nothing more to be said. Unlike you, Vea, I do not allow hindrances. Thea, your heart has been hurt so much. How can you still be so weak as to linger on what has already run its course? Nevaeh's wolf asked, in a tone of disappointment. In your eyes, is this still transactional? Is being with Narcs still about gaining power and a foothold in Dragonkeep? Nevaeh thought to her wolf. That had been the original intention. Nevaeh had never put her own feelings in the equation. She had hoped that she would grow to love Monarchs, but in the start, on Nevaeh's end, it had just been mutual respect and trust. Those two were already hard to come by in the first place. They had been more than enough for Nevaeh. But it was no longer the same. Everything had changed the moment she had begun to harbor feelings for Monarchs. Feelings that grew incredibly stronger by the day. With those feelings came the guilt. Guilt for how it had all started, and distrust in her own heart. It changed for me. I do not know when, but it changed. And so I cannot help it when I feel that it is unfair to him, to let you have your way when I know your intent. I cannot help it if I refuse to tie him down to me permanently, when we both are not of the same mind. At least this way, if anything goes wrong, he will be free of pain, and I will bear it all alone. Nevaeh thought to her wolf. Thea, you have changed. Nevaeh's wolf thought to her. Nevaeh was not certain if her wolf meant that in a good way or a bad way, but Nevaeh leaned more to the latter. The voice in our mind was right. You have become too soft. You have forgotten who we are. This time, Nevaeh was certain of what way her wolf meant it. She had become weak. Empathy, guilt. These were emotions Nevaeh never had the luxury or leisure to harbor. But emotions like this had now become a frequent guest. This was the downside of letting down her walls. Yes, you are the king. You were born with an ironclad will and an even bolder mind. It must be that I am just not as excellent, Nevaeh murmured in response. Nevaeh retreated to the farthest portion of their mind, letting her wolf do as she pleased. She watched from within as Monarchs marveled at her wolf, his eyes shining with delight and adoration when she lowered her height to him, offering to take him on a run. The sincerity of his emotions, the depth of his happiness, everything about him was so true and honest, and he hid nothing, wearing his heart so openly so Nevaeh could see it all he felt for her, all she meant to him. And while his heart was so open and transparent, hers was clouded, still hiding too many secrets. She could trust in his heart, but she had no faith in hers. This was and would always be the difference between them. The feeling of the wind through her fur was one that always brought calm to Nevaeh's troubled heart. But this time, it did nothing. Can you be any faster with it? Estelle demanded in frustration as she paced around the dressmaker's hall. Yes, my lady, the seamstress stuttered out, passing a wary glance to Estelle. Elle, be calm. You are distracting her. She is already going as fast as she can, Dante chided, watching from where he sat by the door. Not fast enough. The ceremony is in 1 hour, and Vier's gift is not ready yet. I made the request 1 entire week ago, Estelle exclaimed. With the ceremony coming up, we were focused on making Lady Nevaeh's dress for the night, and that of the other riders and noble ladies. After the senior seamstress tailoring, she left the final touches to me. I had thought I would get them done at noon, but I did not return on time from delivering dresses. I am truly sorry, Lady Estelle. The seamstress apologized profusely. In the seamstress's distraction, the needle pierced her finger, and she yelped in surprise and pain. Elle, Dante called to Estelle warningly, just when she was about to snap. Estelle sucked in a deep breath to calm herself, shaking her head quickly. I am sorry. I am being too hard on you. See to your injury first, Estelle permitted. The seamstress got to her feet and stepped away to tend to her injury, while Estelle exhaled heavily. Why are you so tense? Dante asked Estelle as she walked over to take a seat beside him. I'm not very good at making friends, Dante. Via is the first real friend I've had since... Estelle trailed off as she thought about it. Well, since you, Estelle realized. And you're worried this past 2 months will make things awkward? Dante asked knowingly. I really like Nevaeh, but she has such a distant personality. It's hard to really understand her. It's been 2 months, yet she did not reply any of my letters or ask for me when she returned, Estelle grumbled. And that makes you feel doubtful on if she regards you in the same way? Dante said the words Estelle did not. I know it's silly of me. Via is straightforward, honorable, reliable, wise, daring. She survived all the humiliation and has won the respect of everyone, even without an Asvarian birthright. She commanded a victorious war herself, and she is not even a dragon. And then there is me, Estelle sighed heavily. Elle, you two are indeed different, and the difference is not any of these things you have mentioned, but the fact that you do not see your own worth like she sees hers. If you did, you would know that regardless of if you present Nevaeh the most meaningful gift for her bonding ceremony tonight or not, it would not change the fact that she already considers you a friend, Dante asserted. And how would you know that? Estelle asked. I should know. I received a very stern warning to look out for you and not leave you by yourself 2 months ago, Dante said, chuckling to himself in amusement. Nevaeh stood before a mirror, watching her reflection in silence. The dress she had on was a deep red shade. It was accentuated with silver beads that were sewn into the fabric. Nevaeh had grown accustomed to wearing this color, as it represented Monarch's claim, and the blend of silver, albeit little in quantity, gave the dress a stunning sheen and complemented its base color. The dress was simple but intricately designed. Nevaeh had not been present to make a choice of dress for herself, and she was not certain who had given these instructions to the dressmaker, but it was perfectly to her taste. Simple but exquisite, it sat easily on Nevaeh's figure, though that did not come as a surprise to Nevaeh, since the dressmaker already had her measurements. Nevaeh breathed a sigh. It was already time for her to make an appearance. The ceremony had begun a short time ago, and the guests were already arriving in their masses. The Unified Council had also arrived earlier in the day and would be making their entrance to the ceremony anytime soon. Nevaeh heard so from Everon. Meanwhile, the subject of the event was still cooped up in her quarters, staring at her reflection. A few attendants had just taken their leave after helping Nevaeh get ready. Now, all that was left was getting her mind in the right state for a night that promised to be eventful. She was to be officially titled the Lady of Ruby Scales, and the success of the second merging announced before the High Nobles and Dragon Council. And with the presence of representatives from all the different species, Nevaeh was not certain the night would go by smoothly. Most particularly since Monarch's supposed chosen bonded would be in attendance. But above all that, today was such a day that had never gone right for Nevaeh all her life. It was her 19th birthday. Nevaeh had already expected it, but she had hoped it would be different this time, that she would not awaken to the familiar sinking feeling that gripped her every year on this particular day, that feeling that something was surely to go wrong. The day had been going excellently well so far. Monarchs was intentional about it and had spared no lengths to make the day special for Nevaeh since she had woken up at dawn. Nevaeh had been showered with so much love and gifts already, even from as far as the White Dunes, where Kidian and the Dune Dragons sent their wishes, accompanied with gifts. Even through all of that, Nevaeh still could not shake off this feeling of apprehension. It was now that Nevaeh wondered why she had decided not to shift the date of the ceremony, like King Jian had suggested.
"Vea, it's time," Monarchs called from the door as he stepped into their quarters.
For a moment, Monarchs stood frozen in place, just staring at Nevaeh, his eyes shining with awe and adoration. "Why are you staring at me like that?" Nevaeh asked, though she could already tell. Monarchs blinked, shaking his head slightly in a bid to shake himself back to reality. "Just wondering how I became so lucky." "You are beautiful, Nevaeh. Truly beautiful," Monarchs confessed, offering Nevaeh a hand. Nevaeh's lips stretched into a small smile. "Ready?" Monarchs asked. Nevaeh sucked in a deep breath, and then she exhaled slowly, letting all her concerns flit away in that breath. "Yes, I am," Nevaeh assured. Taking Monarchs' offered hand, she let Monarchs lead the way to the grand hall where the ceremony would take place. There were a few guests heading into the grand hall here or there, but the hall was mostly empty. Most of the guests had already arrived. The ceremony had begun for some time now, and Monarchs had been occupied welcoming the guests with the rest of the king's guard before he left to fetch Nevaeh. They soon arrived at the door to the grand hall. 2 dragon guards stood guard at the closed doors, holding on to the guest list with which they announced the arrival of each guest.
"Lord Monarchs, Lady Nevaeh,"
the guards greeted in unison. They did not need to refer to the guest list to recognize the main reason behind the ceremony itself.
"Just a moment."
Monarchs stopped the guard just when he was about to announce their arrival. Monarchs turned to Nevaeh, holding her gaze for a moment.
"I once asked myself when exactly it was that I fell for you. How exactly it happened."
Monarchs began, lowering his head to hide his smile.
"I thought it must have been that day, in the flower meadow of the Aspherian beacon. You saved my life,"
Monarchs recalled.
"Albeit reluctantly,"
he added. Nevaeh laughed quietly at Monarchs' words, and how accurate they were. She would have sooner killed Monarchs herself then than save him, but she did what she had to survive. "I am one who only knows to protect others. Not once have I ever trusted my life in the hands of an absolute stranger."
"You were the first. Thinking about it, centuries worth of life considered, you are still a first of many things,"
Monarchs admitted.
"But all of that was wrong, Thea. I think I know when exactly I fell in love with you now."
"It must have been at that moment when I first laid eyes on you. I must have loved you from the moment I met you. That is the only explanation that makes sense for how ardently I love you." Monarchs fell quiet for a moment.
"My love for you was swift and sure. Took me off guard as surely as it must have done to you. In a world full of uncertainties, I wish for you to always know that you are my certainty, my fate, my lifetime, my northern star, and my truest ruby," Monarchs whispered.
Nevaeh was left speechless. She tilted her head back to keep her tears in, and Monarchs smiled adoringly, giving Nevaeh a moment before he nodded to the guards.
"The Lord and Lady of Ruby Scales arrives,"
the guards announced in unison as the doors were opened and Monarchs and Nevaeh headed into the hall, hand in hand. Rosalie hurried down the hallway. She held her dress up in her hands so she did not trip over it as she walked briskly, glancing around ever so often to ensure she had not attracted any attention. The keep was busy in these days. Today in particular, the keep saw more guests than it had in a long while, and it was hard to move about unnoticed. But Rosalie did not have much of a choice. There was a piece of paper scrunched up tightly in her right hand, a note she had received from an unknown sender, and the contents of the note had left Rosalie in full-blown panic. A message to your father is all it would take. Duncan's life and the life of the other are in your hands. I will be waiting in the back garden of the keep. Come alone, the note read. There was not much content in the note, but Rosalie, whom the note was meant for, perfectly understood the threat concealed within. Duncan. He was an apprentice healer, just like Rosalie herself was. It was only that, unlike Rosalie and most others, he was one of the few healers who hailed from a common mortal background. They were not even of Asvarian bloodline. They were just ordinary mortals. And while they were considered an important part of the society, there was still a disparity in class that could not be overlooked. Now, the dragons did not mind this at all. They were noble beings that could not contemplate such pettiness. The dragons were also firmly against this discrimination and did not tolerate any such happening brought to their knowledge. But some nobles of Asvarian bloodline still made sure to draw a clear line in rank. They were all mortals, but it was an unspoken knowledge that those mortals of Asvarian bloodline considered themselves royalty compared with the ordinary mortals with no traces of dragon blood. Out of all these nobles, there was one high noble of Asvarian blood that was known to absolutely detest those mortals who did not have Asvarian blood, and this noble was Lord Myrtle, Rosalie's father. The discord between the Myrtle clan and the non-blooded mortals had gone on for generations, and even till this day, though it was kept under wraps, Rosalie knew nothing had changed. Now Duncan was of that bloodline. Rosalie's clan so absolutely detested. Duncan was that healer Rosalie and her closest friends, Adrian and Celia, would always look down on, isolate, and mistreat, even when he was a far more talented apprentice than they were. It was this very same Duncan who fathered the child Rosalie currently carried in her womb, a secret Rosalie had sworn to take to her grave. For Rosalie knew that if word of this were to reach her father and clan, they would stop at nothing to slaughter both father and child. Other than Duncan and Celia, no one else knew of this. Or so Rosalie had thought till she received this note. Rosalie arrived at the third ascending room to find that it was also occupied. "Please!" Rosalie exclaimed with urgency as she pulled on the lever, hoping the ascending room would come up, but it just kept descending. Rosalie turned, heading to the stairwell as fast as she could. It was a long way down to the ground floor through the stairwell, but it was a better option than waiting for the ascending room. Rosalie hurried down the stairwell. While everyone else headed up to the grand hall for the event, Rosalie was practically the only noble headed in the opposite direction at this time. It took Rosalie a while, but she soon arrived on a level where the ascending room was free, and she took the ascending room down to the ground floor. From there, Rosalie headed out to the back garden. It was already dark when Rosalie stepped out of the keep. The back garden was isolated, as most guests trooped in and out through the front doors of the keep. No one had the leisure to idle away in the darkness of the back garden, except, of course, the person who had sent the note to Rosalie. Rosalie slowed down her steps, glancing around the garden cautiously. "Hello? Anyone there?" Rosalie called out into the darkness. But of course, she received no response. However, from the corner of her eyes, Rosalie caught a movement somewhere farther into the garden. "You asked me to come here. I'm here now. Show yourself," Rosalie called out, all to no avail. Rosalie frowned, walking slowly in the direction where she had noticed movement. What do you want from me? Gold? Lands? Just say it and be done with it, Rosalie yelled out into the darkness. But again, she got no response. Rosalie glanced up at the sky. She was already so late for the ceremony and would get a stern lecture from her father. Any later, and he would send someone out to look for her. Duncan and Celia would also notice soon, and they would be worried. I can't go back without sorting this out, Rosalie murmured determinedly, placing a hand on her abdomen where she knew a new life blossomed. Rosalie ventured deeper into the garden, and she had only gone in so far when a strong force slammed into the back of her head. Rosalie let out a gasp of pain as she collapsed on the ground unconscious. And under the cover of darkness, Rosalie's body was pulled through the garden by a figure in a black cloak into a hidden corner, precisely one of the few points out of sight to the patrolling dragon lords up above. Not long after, a woman was seen returning into the castle, dressed in Rosalie's attire and ornaments which included a bejeweled fan she lifted up to her face, elegantly but surely keeping her face out of view.
The Lord and Lady of Ruby Scales arrives, the guards announced. Monarchs and Nevaeh walked into the grand hall, greeted by the bright lighting and a crowd of elegant and luxuriously dressed guests. The grand hall was the largest hall in Dragonkeep, and at this moment, it hosted over 300 guests, consisting of the Rider Council, high nobles, and the most respected figures from Keep Skies and its environs. There was also the Unified Council present, and all eyes turned to the door as Monarchs and Nevaeh walked into the hall.
Oh, they look good together,
a noble lady gushed.
A pair as perfect as a ruby, another agreed with a nod.
Many more agreed with their statement, whispering their approval amongst themselves.
I finally have reason to believe the nobles are sensible,
Monarchs whispered to Nevaeh, knowing she could hear the whispers of awe all around them, just as he did.
Selectively so,
Nevaeh whispered back. Monarchs stifled a chuckle, keeping a straight face as they gracefully moved to the front of the hall, where the Dragon King's throne was mounted on a dais. The owner of the throne sat in all his glory, looking over the hall, his countenance cold and calm as always. King Jian watched them, and Nevaeh also returned the gaze as they moved closer. It had been 2 months since she last laid eyes on the Dragon King, and Nevaeh noted that he did not look any less annoying than he had when she had left. As they got to the first step, Monarchs and Nevaeh stopped, lowering their heads to a deep bow of respect.
At ease, King Jian permitted.
Monarchs and Nevaeh stood straight, and King Jian nodded his head to the elder who stood by his side. Lord Monarchs, in honor of our traditions, we have come on your summons to bear witness to your chosen bond. Whom do you have in hand? The elder asked aloud. Monarchs glanced over at Nevaeh, a small smile on his lips. Before Monarchs could say a word, the arrival of a new presence was announced in a loud tone. Lord Xenon of Onyx Scales arrives, came the announcement. The doors flung open at the same moment, and in walked a familiar figure dressed in pitch-black robes.